Fortunate to be able to do the NFL Draft on NFL Network. 22 drafts now and counting. I've seen a lot. I have seen a ton. I've seen players sue their way into the National Football League or attempt and get drafted anyway. I've seen, what else have I seen? I've seen crazy draft trades, crazy draft nights.
Rumors.
Let me just say this. I don't think I've ever in a million years thought that I would ever see. How about that? I never in a million years thought I'd ever see a draft night blown up on social media by somebody trying to do somebody so dirty they put a video of their Pineapple Express bong mask out there. Never thought I'd see that. Followed up by direct messages of Laramie Tunsil with Ole Miss about trying to set him up with rent and electricity and all that. I mean, that was the craziest draft moment in the first round of a draft I've ever seen. But in terms of an entirety, second one to second last, pick one through Mr. Irrelevant, I've never seen a draft journey. And I don't think I ever will see a crazier one again than the one of Shedeur Sanders. If you had told me that Shedeur Sanders would go 143 picks after Cam Ward, if you had told me that a guy who throughout the entire draft process was considered by many knowledgeable evaluators as a top 5 pick would wind up a 5th round pick, I would have told you you're out of your mind. And sure enough, Shedeur Sanders, who we spent much of Friday's show talking about because he slipped through the first round, slipped through the second day. Nobody used a second or a third round pick on him. And then he slipped through the 4th round. And at that point in time, I'm thinking that the NFL's lost its mind. I really was. Listen, the number of times, and I said this on Thursday night after he wasn't drafted, and then Friday night after he wasn't drafted, but certainly on Friday night after he wasn't drafted, the number of times you've seen somebody drafted in the NFL, talent over everything, when the everything would fill up an amusement park with the number of red flags surrounding this prospect, and somebody drafted him anyway. I've lost track. I've lost count. And this young man's transgression apparently was being unprofessional in meetings, being unprepared in meetings. That does count for something. It counts for everything in many job interviews, and this is a job interview. Okay? Like if you show up to a job interview with somebody unprepared and uncaring, you're not going to get hired, nor should you. And so that makes sense when it's normally a business where that stuff counts. And it does count in the NFL, but so many other times, your talent, doesn't matter what you've done, hey, you can help me win games. You're hired. And we'll deal with it because you've learned from your past. You've learned from this. Again, I've lost track. And this kid's transgression has nothing to do with anything that would show up on a back page or, heaven forbid, a front page of a newspaper. I couldn't believe it. He's a 5th round draft choice, and teams are passing up on him one after the other after the other. He's got a dad like LeVar Ball. Deion Sanders now suddenly LeVar Ball. Okay, I got it. Like, LeVar had he averaged one point a game when he was playing at any level, right?
1.3 maybe.
And he's just going to be a helicopter dad, and he's going to blow up your franchise, and this kid's going to have cameras in the locker room, and he's going to blow everything up. As if this isn't the NFL, where head coaches like Belichick just suck all the oxygen out of the draft, out of the press room or the locker room, and can tell you you're not being able to talk to my player. Mike Tomlin, if they had drafted Shedeur there, couldn't have told him, yeah, the cameras aren't coming in. And you know who would have backed off right away? Shedeur. And you know who would have told Shedeur to back off right away? His dad. all those arguments about Shedeur not being draftable because of, Deion saying, Deion's Prime Video reality shows is a sign of the team that didn't draft him, their weakness. It's your team. It's your locker room. You run it. And you know who would respect that? The guy who runs his team the way he sees fit. By telling all the kids who he's inherited when he takes the job, bring your Louis Vuittons, because you're packing up out of here. And guess what? I'm going to retire my son's number. I don't care what you say about it. I just couldn't, slip through the first round, slip through the second day. All right, now you're going to have to explain to me what you're thinking. And again, if you're the Giants and you're like, I'd rather trade up for Jackson Dart because I like his tape, and I also don't want to deal with the other stuff that I'm concerned about with Shedeur. I'd rather work with one kid over the other. Then it's on Shedeur because he didn't either come prepared for a meeting or he was uninterested in a meeting. I'm not saying it was with the Giants, but if any other teams passed up on him, then it's on you. It's on Shedeur and his tape. Second night. All right, the Saints, they like Tyler Shuck better than him? Well, I look forward to seeing, Tyler Shuck prove that they did the right thing. And we've met him, and he's got that chip on his shoulder, too. And the Seattle Seahawks, they liked Milroe more than this kid. And the team that drafted him liked Dylan Gabriel more than him. Okay. Now, that one we're going to actually see a competition about if that's right or not. But then the fourth round, teams passing up on this kid in the fourth round. The fourth round. Daniel Jeremiah nailed every single one of his top 100 got drafted. Every one of them. Perfect 100 for 100. Not in the order, but it just shows you he knows talent. Shedeur was number 20 on his draft board. 20. Okay. Being drafted in the fifth round, I didn't see that one coming. And I don't, it's a mixture of they didn't like the tape, they didn't like the kid, they didn't like this, they didn't like that. But through to day 3, I've never seen anything like it. Nothing like it. And then on top of it, he gets pranked. He gets pranked by an Ole Miss kid who got the number from the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. Kid snaked it off his dad's iPad. So he gets pranked. And to Shedeur's credit, he was not moping. He wasn't. I'm sure he was thoroughly disappointed. I'm sure he was stunned that he got pranked on a phone that only NFL teams had access to. I'm sure that sucked. But for anyone out there who's like, Shedeur needed to be taught a lesson and has had everything spoon-fed to him by his dad, well, this is the laboratory in which that theory will be tested because he's going to have to compete. And again, this is the other crazy part of this. Shedeur doesn't get drafted in the top 5. He gets drafted in the 5th round. He's 143 picks separated from Cam Ward and a darn near almost a half dozen other prospects at the position taken before him. And the team he winds up on already drafted a quarterback before him and passed up on drafting his all-world Heisman Trophy teammate to start the draft. So the team that says, yeah, Travis Hunter is Ohtani, but, I mean, we need more picks, so we'll take one next year and move down and take an outstanding defensive lineman. That team could have had both and winds up after everything else, after passing up on him 6 times. It's like more shots than Don Corleone absorbed, right? Passed up on him 6 times. Traded their final draft pick of the draft in the 5th round to trade up a few spots to beat the Eagles, apparently, to Shedeur Sanders. And then, the coach and the GM, like, when they showed the shot of them celebrating, some teams, they're all hugging. You see they're hugging, right? They're hugging everybody. Remember the Lions, and you see the Eagles, the Niners. They're all, honestly, a fifth-round pick. They're just hugging it out like they just won the lottery. And the coach and the GM, I wanted them to hold up a copy of the plain dealer to see if it was if they were alive on that day. They said it had nothing to do with that. Mm-hmm. That's how Shedeur Sanders got drafted. You got to be kidding me. Craziest draft journey. We've never, in my 22 years of doing the draft, never had a story that was of interest at pick 1, last all the way to day 3. Never. Even Maurice Clarett, the aforementioned individual who sued to get in the league, he was drafted in the 3rd round. He sued the league. He told the league, I am serving you. I'm willing to get into an illegal fight with the National Football League, and the Broncos said, you're hired. To him. And he quit at the combine.
He's not the quarterback, though.
I know that.
I did enjoy Joel's pushback on that because he's right.
Which is what? You don't want that to be at your leadership position.
Exactly. Face of the franchise, leader in the locker room, the man who commands the huddle and who is front and center for every issue of the team. They always go to the quarterback first.
And you need to be damn sure about it.
Yeah. Also, look, we're going to talk to him. Albert tried to tell us for months that a lot of teams did not have him as a first-round grade.
I'm not sitting here and saying first round.
But then when he starts slipping, you're like, well, are we going to waste a draft pick on a backup quarterback? No. How many teams actually had them on their draft board? We don't know, but it seems like it was only a handful to begin with because every other team's quarterback room is pretty much set.
I hear you.
You can when you really talk it all out. It's not as extravagantly surprising as a lot of people in the media are making it out to be.
Chris, pick 144. 144.
I mean, that's
the number of times, I won't say which they were. I'm not going to say which they were. I won't say it. But the number of times somebody got picked late 3rd, early 4th, and I just peripherally see my analysts kind of look at each other like, really, that kid got drafted?
I mean, you sit here and say that the quarterback has to be the face.
Well, he's right about it. He's right about that.
But guys like Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield, who've been arrested and have other things had happened to them, they've been given that shot. And I'm not saying talent-wise he should have been number 1 or anything, but when you look at that stuff,
those guys won the Heisman Trophy.
No, listen, those guys had way better college results
for sure.
And
you're still
Baker,
talking about
Baker. I'd like to remove Baker from the equation here because that's not that. I don't think that's apples to apples in any way, shape, or form. But I understand what you're saying, TJ. Again, first round, I was surprised, but I get it. Like there's first round pick. If you don't think the kid is a starter. And if you don't think that he can be your starter and is someone that you're going to be reliant on, if you don't think, I totally get you passing on him. And I even think that in the 2nd round. 3rd round, now we're like, what's up? 4th round. I couldn't believe he got through the 4th round. I was stunned.
Yeah.
Stunned. But if you're the Steelers and you're like, hey, Rodgers is coming, and we like somebody just as much in the 5th and 6th round, and Jack Sawyer's sitting out there, I get that too. I get that. But people start taking flyers on guys, and he's passing through, and then he gets drafted by a team that already took a quarterback.
Quinn Ewers went to the college football playoff and was taken in the 7th round.
And by the way,
so the backup quarterbacks in this draft all dropped.
No, I hear you. And that's just, again, the evaluation. I hear you, Chris.
Yeah.
But 5th round. And there's a ton of people that agree with exactly what you're saying. And if a kid gets on the grease board and isn't any good or isn't any interested, I understand passing. All the way to round 5, though. Round 5. Well, and he's going to get a chance to compete and show everybody that they're wrong. And guess what? Guess what? The proof will come out in that pudding. And certainly if you think that somebody tapped the general manager and coach of the Cleveland Browns on the shoulder to say, draft this kid, then he's going to a spot where there's a deck and there's more cards stacked against than for, and he's going to have to fight through all that. And this could be one of the freezing cold take moments here. And it could come as soon as mid-August. Because guess what? 5th round selections get thrown on that waiver wire first cut pile over and over and over again in this league. And that's the reality of what he's been drafted into. You are a 5th round pick. And you are not even the first quarterback we took in the draft. And there is a veteran that's definitely going to be on the roster because he won Comeback Player of the Year for us. And there's a guy who took a victory formation in the Super Bowl that we acquired first up this year. So Shedeur is going to have to work his ass off now. And if he doesn't do that and he doesn't realize it and he blows the opportunity, then he deserved to be a 5th round draft choice, period. End of story. He deserved to be the last guy taken in the draft. If this opportunity isn't one that he is going to take seriously and knock the heck out of. See, I didn't say hell because Deion doesn't. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.